Greetings, programs! Today's Brando review is of the 2011 Star Wars The Vintage Collection Jango Fett from Hasbro. Let's do this. Start off with the packaging. You have your wonderful card back here. The top, you have your centered logo, Star Wars, and it wraps around silver. Back to the figure down at the bottom left and back up to the top here. Down below, you have your Jango Fett text, as well as a photo from Kamino when he's battling Obi-Wan Kenobi in Attack of the Clones. Top left, you have your ages 4 and up. Top right, you have your warning. Bottom right, you have your Kenner logo. And then inside the little bubble, I'll get close for you. You can see the Jango Fett that you are going to get. So very cool. On the back, you see he is number 34. On the top left, you have your Vintage Collection logo. The top right, you get your VC34 logo. In the middle, you have your very first look at Jango Fett in Episode 2. There's a figure of him as well as text. On the bottom, you have a really cool 5-card and 5-figure layout of the Vintage Collection of what you can buy and you also collect. Very cool they included this, and sadly that's not really around anymore. On the bottom text, you get your trademarks and all that good stuff, as well as logos for the website, etc., and your proof of purchase barcode. And on the bottom, you get nothing. So we're going to unpack him from the card. I'm going to be very careful. Collectors beware. You're in for a scare. I do like how this bottom here is an easy start. There we go. It's an easy start point. There you go. All you gotta do is 3 out of the 4 sides, and the bubble can still stick on there. And it looks pretty good. You can pretty much put them back together. I did a pretty clean job of getting them out. Really quickly, I'll just show off his poncho. His poncho here is included. It might look a little bit big, but it's very good that we get a soft, good part for the figure here. The poncho was featured in a deleted scene for Attack of the Clones. Pretty much didn't see the light of day at all for that guy, which kind of stinks. But the poncho is included here. It's okay. I just looked around here on the side and there's a hole cut out for the jetpack. So you can put the jetpack in, even though I think in the deleted scene he did not have the jetpack in at all. But that's really cool in case you want to have that on there. And it's a good feature. So my Jango stands a wee bit crooked here on his left leg. It's kind of, whoops, it's kind of tilted out to his side rather than more of a straight like his right leg is. I can see a little bit of pigeon footing, so I can just fix that like that. It looks a little bit better. But I'm gonna get a measurement for him. Pretty much 3 3/4 inches tall, perfectly without the helmet, and with the helmet, he is roughly 7/8 inches tall with the helmet on. So I'll just start off with the design and detailing of this guy and sculpt. I'm gonna start off with the blasters. On the left, you get your blasters that are included for the Vintage Collection. It looks like they are pretty much the same sculpt. They might be actually a little bit different. I think the end of the blaster is a little bit thinner than the older designs for the little laser, whatever you want to call it, comes out of. Also, there's no like little butt end for the grip. You can see all the way down, there's like a little flat piece there, and it's not included in the new design. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I'll throw up a picture and see if it is here in a second. So the biggest noticeable difference you can see between the 3, the one in the middle, I forget which one that's from figure-wise, but you can see that the paint there is a very metallic, shiny silver, and it looks really good. Is it accurate? I don't know, but if I had to pick one to throw up with his blasters, I would pick the metallic, shiny silver one. So what we're gonna do now is, first of all, see if they will fit in the gun holsters of the Vintage Collection Jango and compare them to see this one, because maybe that's why the new blaster ends are smaller so that they fit inside of the holsters, and that's pretty much it design wise. They fit into the holsters. So what we have here is the shiny metallic silver one that I liked, and here is the Vintage Collection one that fits in the holster. So pretty much one that is good for dioramas, or one that'll fit in the holsters if you don't want him to hold guns. So that's what the 2 look like. They're okay. I mean, they're blasters. So I'll talk about the overall design of this guy. It looks overall a little bit weird. The helmet should be a little bit different proportions. The visor is very big and the top part is very small, like squished down like a mushroom. You can see also there on the sides. Antenna is very big and long, does not move, flexible. It's, I don't know, it's okay. Let's actually compare it to, say, here's the one battle helmet, and that one looks, I guess, the same. It's squished down. Here's another one that has a removable face, and no, it's pretty much the same exact sculpt. So I wish they could have done a better job on the helmet. However, this is, a 4-inch figure, so it's not too big of a deal. You can see here that his head, his little chin, comes underneath the helmet. If you're having him flat on, straight on at you looking, that's not bad. But here on the side, eek! And yeah, any other, well, that would be, probably okay, but maybe it's just my guy? No, it's just his sculpt in general. It looks kind of weird. Alas, the armor sculpted pretty nicely. I wish it was a little bit darker. If it was a little bit darker underneath here, this should be like a really darker gray. That would be more accurate. But just like the 6-inch version, actually, yeah, just like the 6-inch version, you have the shoulder caps in real life are designed within one piece to this chest. This is all gray, but Hasbro has put in caps to go underneath the chest piece so you can allow articulation. Very cool. Of course, the authentic purple suit. It's like a saturated indigo, purple, whatever you want to call it. And his gauntlets here are very, very interesting. I think he only uses one of these little shredder things when he's flying down the sides of a Camino building, almost to his death, but he prevents it by having these guards out and then stopping his fall. I think he only did it on one side, but for some reason they decided to do it on both sides for this sculpt. It looks really cool. It looks very dangerous. It looks very real. And just like the 6-inch version, you have your little tubes that go into the sculpt. And actually, this is even more interesting than the 6-inch version. I think it was all one ploy. Here, there are 1, 2, 3 separate pieces. Actually, 4 separate pieces. I think there's only 3 separate pieces in the 6-inch version. That is quite marvelous. That is one heck of an engineering piece. And let's see if it looks like the same exact on this side, and it is. There are 4 parts right there rotating. That is nuts. So that's pretty cool. Unfortunately, we do not have a hinge for the hand. He's stuck in a one gun out type deal. It's okay though. I mean, what are you gonna do? Something that's really impressive is the belt sculpt. That belt sculpt looks really great. You have the included right here rubber pieces, and of course you see that there's brown straps here, and in real life they are attached to the gun holster, but here they are not. You can pretty much have more articulation. Unfortunately, this guy does not have any type of joint for the hips. He has just your standard 5 points butt sit down. Something that is very odd about the design, I don't know if it's just mine, it might be, I don't know. This armor piece for his left thigh is perfectly centered towards us on the leg. This one right here for the right leg, you can see that it's a little bit off-centered. I guess the whole leg is almost off-centered. No, it's just that piece of the thigh, because you can see the knee guards there are perfectly flush facing towards us, just that's a little odd. So that's a little bit different. Of course, there is no dirtifying or battle wear of the armor. It could have done a little bit of brushings to make it look a little more authentic, because it does look very bland without it, but that's okay. And here is the other side gauntlet. You can see the detailing here, along with the little guard that comes out. Actually, that might be bent. That should be like that, shouldn't it? Yeah, there you go. Of course, he has his darts on his knee pads, and Jango's design is that he does not have the little wraps around the back of the knees like Boba did. His are incorporated and stitched onto the suit. And the boots, his shoes look pretty good. And of course they have little ridges and a peg to put on a stand. The backside's okay. You have your little hexagon, octagon, whatever gone. And then your 2 notches. This is for the Jetpack. Even though we really don't have notches that big compared to the 6-inch version, you do have it's not really, it's kind of a hexagon. It's more of a circle shaped. But if you put the Jetpack on, yeah, you can pretty much rotate it, so it's pretty much a circle. I don't know why they would bother, doing that if you don't have a fits slot B type deal, but whatever. But you can see the detailing here of the Jetpack. It looks really good. Let's compare it to some other Jetpacks. This one was my favorite Jango because of the articulation and the ability to take off the helmet. I think this Jango Jetpack actually might look better than this one. Let's actually see if this rocket fits in here. This is like a spring-loaded rocket. It does, but it is loose. So you can really quickly compare the rockets here compared to the old one. So it's really cool that they include a little orange flame coming out of the rocket. And of course there's more paint compared to the old one, or the basic, I would say. So of course the vintage collection, you're gonna get better paint apps and better sculpt. So really great job. I included that extra little bit. But yeah, I think this jetpack looks better. It looks more like the Camino jetpack, even if that paint looks pretty much the same. I don't know. I think proportion-wise, this one might be better, even though this one is a big jetpack and it looks like it's proportion-wise pretty good. I don't know. That's tough. And I obviously like the paint apps on this better than this paint app. It looks like, you know, you bought a Walmart paint kit for $6 and then the cheap brushes and they just brushed it on. Like you can really see there's like gradients here. Mostly this silver. And of course I think there's like some touch-ups of darkness down there. Darkness! And then up top here. This is just a really good looking jetpack. I think this might be able to fit in the vintage collection one. Might not be able to. I think this hole is too big. Nope, they're different sizes. So don't try it at home, kids. So I'll discuss the remaining articulation. I'll keep the jetpack on. He has a hinged head, so he's going to go down. You can go up, and you should swivel on a 360, and he does. I already showed you these shoulders. That's the amount of up they go. So pretty flat and flush. Go down. He has a hinged elbow. He can hinge in, like so. He can hinge out. I'm not going to test it too much to break the tubes here, but that's pretty much out. It looks pretty cool. Of course, I already talked about the wrist being absolutely none for the articulation. He does have a little bit of a hinge, just like the 6-inch, for going down and up, and then I think it should be a 360, and it is not prohibited by anything. Great job. Of course, I already talked about the butt. He goes down. He has single jointed knees, so he can sit down relatively okay. That's about, I can stretch it about that-ish. He has ankle articulation. He has just a swivel and no hinge at all. So if you're used to having the hinge, sorry. And then it shows you the ends of the feet. The helmet's actually really interesting. This helmet is a rubber. This helmet is a rubber too, but this helmet is so much more harder. This is so soft. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. This is such a harder helmet. Let's see if this fits on this just for shits and giggles. And it does. Honestly, that kind of looks pretty good besides the horrible black striping. I think the blue is just more vibrant, and I think this blue might be more screen accurate than this desaturated blue right here. But, see, this is going to be a problem, I think. His head keeps coming off every time I try to... when I open up the guy, this helmet came right off with the head. And I hope this isn't a problem going forward, because I want to keep this guy as my favorite. Even though I'm going to keep the rest of the Jango Fetts as my favorites too. It's just that, That also might be why this is the older one. That's also why this one might be so soft, is that it's easier to take the head out. Might be a little bit of a problem taking it. I can gingerly take him out, but there you go. But still, yikes. So we're going to talk about the head. Let's say compared to this old head. I'll be honest, this old head, man, I think it's the stubble. There might be too many scars. He didn't have that many scars. I don't think that's play damage either when I was a kid. This head really doesn't look that great. It really doesn't. The only crappy part is this head does have articulation, but you can see here, this head is not on like a socket joint like this is. You can just boop, come off. Or I could just put this head on here. Yeah, but this head really isn't the greatest. It doesn't look too wonderful. I think it's the cheeks. His cheeks look so fat. It's almost like they took a random guy from New Zealand rather than Tamara Morrison and put his sculpt in. But maybe a couple beard stubbles, paint, he would look better. But that is the head. The hair is actually decently sculpted. Decently being a loose term here. But that is that. I will take off his jetpack and throw on his headset, which he uses in the Slave 1. His headset's made of rubber. That looks really great. That really does. That looks very accurate. I'd say if you have him in the Slave 1, I think this is also the best looking Slave 1 figure you can get outfit out of him. There's an individual Attack of the Clones Slave 1 Jango Fett figure that I think does not look as good as this one. But you can see there, his headset, everything all matches like a desaturated indigo purple, and this does too. It's all like the same color scheme, and it looks just very, very fresh. Headset made rubber, looks very cool added accessory when you put him in the Slave 1. And since I'm on the belt design, I just absolutely adore this belt paint. It looks like real leather, let alone it being like rubber. This belt is rubber, and then of course the holsters are rubber. Honestly, I feel like these are stronger than the 6-inch version. It's also great that they're not tied down, so they're not putting stress on here. That's probably what the 6-inch version should have done. But boy, do I love the paint on that. That's pretty much the highlight of the whole figure, paint-wise. That looks definitely the best part and best feature of the fig. So here's my Jango Fett 3 3/4 inch collection. We have our vintage collection, the one I just got. We have our Camino little hook guy. I don't know the official designations. I'm just going to call them by their accessories or their little action features. We have our Geonosis Flame, which he shoots at Mace. God, I wish he burned him. Oh well. And then we have our Geonosis Electronic, and the electronics still work after all these years. So it's almost like you want to have this guy and you want him to do it all. However, these accompany all one another. They all look sweet. If you had this, oh no, he fell over. I need stands, man. Leave a comment down below if you have any little 3 3/4 inch stands. You can leave me a link on Amazon or something, or just tell me what they're called. I'll go and buy them because I randomly have this 3 3/4 inch stand for this Geonosis Flame guy. However, I'm looking right now, this guy right here, proportion-wise, probably because he doesn't have a removable head, this is the best sculpt. You can see how the helmet's pretty much perfect. That's an elongated helmet. It looks just very he's got bowing out arms, like he's not a human being, and his waist and legs are so close together. I know that's spread out, and this is spread out, but I think this is the best-looking Jango Fett figure proportion-wise. Feature-wise, it's either the vintage collection or this one right here that keeps falling down on me with the hooks. Because this guy does have gun holsters right there. He has a very good-looking jetpack like I showed you earlier, and he has a removable helmet, as well as the feature with the hook when he's battling Obi-Wan. So it's actually not that bad. So like this guy really isn't a must-have. Oh my god, he's the best Jango Fett ever. All these have really cool features and individual awesome action features. So I'm probably going to end up keeping all of them. So I'm going to give the Vintage Collection Jango Fett out of 10. Like I said with the proportions, he looks a little bit weird, very small. But overall, this is a really cool action figure with really great belt accessories and rubber included here. I wish he only had one of the guards with the little scraping, only on one side. But really cool to include it in this figure. I don't think it's available in any other figure, sculpt-wise. Really great accessories of the poncho. The ability to put on an extra little headset for his Slave 1, so you can just have two figures pretty much into one rather than having an extra figure of having the Slave 1 headset guy. Really cool that they have the rocket with a little flame coming out of it in case kids want to go and have the rocket launch at Obi-Wan. Jetpack's a little bit underwhelming. It might be proportion-wise great. I really like that they include the poncho. And the articulation is fairly good. The head sculpt is not so much to be desired, and neither is the helmet. But overall, this is a decent figure. I want to say a 7 or an 8 out of 10. After naming off all of the problems I have with it, I'm just going to say it's a 7. I still say pick it up. It is probably the best Jango outside of this one for the little price point that I got at back in the day. And then, of course, the excellent proportioned Geonosis. It would be really cool if they included a Geonosis jetpack and a Camino one. I love the Camino one far more better, even though I think the Geonosis paint-wise and design is better of a jetpack, but this one was a better scene in battle. Thanks guys very much for watching. End of line. I'm Brando and I fight for the users. Thank you for choosing CRS. Greetings, programs. Today's Brando reviews of the 2015 Star Wars The Black Series 6-inch scale Jango Fett figure Let's do this. This is the very last 6-inch version. I know never say never, but this is the very last 6-inch figure.